Now that 2026 has already started slowly tightening its claws around our necks, it's a great time to take a look at what games are most likely to distract us from the plight of simply living our lives this year. Everyone already knows that Resident Evil Requiem, Wolverine, and especially GTA 6 are showing up, assuming it doesn't get delayed once again. But I'm more interested in some titles that could be offering something a little different, a little weird, and stuff you might not even be familiar with. I'm talking about things like Into the Fire. There are plenty of games about fighting fires like a regular old fireman, but I've never seen something that looks quite like this. It straddles the line between a somewhat realistic take on battling the flames and psychedelic survival adventure gameplay that has you trying to save people stranded in collapsing infrastructure of an entire region set ablaze. But it's not just the strange scenario of working against an active volcano or the crazy fan-powered sled you drive around in, or even the interesting artistic design on display though. There's also some weird stuff going down with what I assume are fire monsters and some Hideo Kojima type shit happening that already has my fire hose moist with anticipation to dive into those flames. However, the only thing more fun than fighting against the destructive force of fire is fighting the destructive force of entropy, and in the lift you'll also be doing that with a bunch of weird shit going on. Most repair simulator games that have you fixing things are usually one-note affairs that involve clicking screws and turning wrench prompts for hours at a time without much else happening. The lift puts you into a whole world of retro-futuristic mid-century technology where seemingly all of it is broken. In the role of a handyman, you'll take your tools, collect as many parts as you can find, and try fixing seemingly everything without ending up like these frozen people scattered throughout the environment. But frozen people are only part of the strange world that you're returning to full functionality one light bulb at a time. There's also a bunch of goopy tendrils strangling parts of rooms and areas where holes seem to be ripped in the fabric of reality that you can remedy with the simple power of tape. Oh, and I guess there's a train driven by a robot guy that zips through the ethereal background medium where you're participating in all of this madness. So altogether, it looks like it might be a pretty good time. But the combination of trains and a questionable grasp on reality seems like the entire premise of Dinch Attack. There's not much about this game out there right now outside of a few trailers, but the moment I saw a train car literally rail grinding through a city, it lassoed the pleasure center of my brain and took it for a ride. I'm not entirely sure why there's a train doing skateboard tricks inside of volcanoes and against the faces of giant monsters. The developers seem to think it's a great idea though, so I'm on board and looking forward to 720 trolley grinding my way through Japan's countryside to defeat my enemies. But defeating enemies in a foreign land is probably a lot easier and potentially a little safer when you're inside of a bunker with a gigantic gun. And in Planetenverteidigungskommandant, or PVKK, that's the job you'll be exclusively responsible for. But unlike most gigantic cannons you fire into the sky at invading forces, this seems a little more complicated than just pointing and shooting. You'll have a massive dashboard of toggles, switches, panels, levers, buttons, wheels, knobs, and doodads you'll use to track, aim, and systematically eliminate things really far away at the disembodied voices of your leadership. And in this process, you'll upgrade and improve upon your already complex piece of machinery to better annihilate your faceless foes as they try to adapt to your broad defensive dome. Plus, in continuing the theme of these games, some weird shit is going on behind the scenes, and that may or may not play into your experience of living inside and controlling a stationary death machine with a name that sounds like your tongue fell apart while saying it. But living in isolation against an ever-invading enemy is the premise of the classic show and classic remake Battlestar Galactica, and in Battlestar Galactica Scattered Hopes, you'll dive back into that universe in a new and extremely tactical way. Coming from the developers of Crying Suns, which itself was an awesome evolution of FTL mechanics, this game will give you a similar run-away from an existential threat experience you enjoyed in those games while providing more of the tactical space combat Crying Suns made so cool. In a story that has you guiding a fleet of ships on a space journey to meet up with the Galactica, you'll have to engage with all of the crew challenges and drama just like the show, but you'll also have to take on repeated bouts of real-time combat where you'll need to manifest your inner RTS nerd powers and defend yourself against the Cylons. However, unlike the epic battles of Crying Suns, your goal isn't to vanquish those robotic bastards since they're after you with an overwhelming force. Instead, you'll just need to survive long enough to engage your FTL drives and get the fuck out of there to restart the clock on the exciting adventure of running for your life. Yet restarting the clock has happened quite a few times in my most highly anticipated game for this year. With potential release dates going all the way back to 2016, another delay might actually trigger a full meltdown. However, with all things considered, this might finally be the year that Squadron 42 becomes a reality. As the single-player mirror to the persistent universe of Star Citizen, this game was the original point of excitement that got me to follow the project. The idea of once again playing a crazy Chris Roberts saga in the realm of Wing and Strike Commander with the modern good-lookingness of today's graphics was impossible to pass up. But had I known it would take 14 years to get there, I'd probably have been slightly less excited. Disregarding development time no less than thrice the average, the previews we've seen of this game are nothing short of impressive. Adopting the highly cinematic design of modern warfare games, but with the intricate nerdiness required to have a space sim with a budget-shattering assortment of some of the most recognizable performance-captured faces in Hollywood has definitely made a powerful impression. However, outside of this introduction, the meat of the game will have you working from the fringes, battling the vicious Vandal and anyone else the story decides is your enemy. And rather than taking on all of this solely from the seat of a space fighter, the breadth of this development is expanded and now include lengthy on-foot combat portions and apparently even a boat. Of course, we're only at the start of 2026, and there's no telling what might be announced this year, dropped without any announcement at all, or delayed indefinitely with a beautiful JPEG of text on a game-appropriate colored background. We could even see some other games we've been waiting for months or years that still have unannounced release dates like Deep Rock Galactic Rogue Core, Falling Frontier, or the extremely crazy-looking Kingmakers. Any one of these games would make this list, but without a release date, we have nothing to pretend to hold them accountable to, and thus no hype will be generated from my heart. But these are mostly just the games I'm looking forward to. So let me know in the comments what you think I missed, and I'll probably tell you how it's too mainstream and doesn't have anywhere near enough weird shit in it for me to be on board. Or just tell me about your day. Either way, if you want to see more hot takes, warm satire, and tepid commentary about games, like this video, mega supporter Adam Watke, and check out more Abbreviated Reviews.